So good to see you guys. Sue Bell is with me. Jimmy Kelley is not. And he's not going to make it tonight because it's his birthday.
Everybody should go onto Facebook and give Jimmy Kelley a pound happy
It's his
birthday.
birthday. So he's not going to be here. And that's okay because we know he's out partying. Really good to see all you guys. This is a huge number of people that have hit this room hard, this meeting hard. And I'm really glad to see all of you guys coming in here. And so we're just going to probably jump right in because it is late on the East Coast, or at least getting there. And some of you guys I really appreciate. Those of you who have to stay up past your bedtime. I know 9 o'clock is way past some of your bedtime.
It's past my bedtime.
Well, you're a whole nother story. You've been up for 4 days straight, so that's just the way that it works. Really good to see you guys. So we do have a ton of questions. And Andres, that's sales questions, so we're not going to really get into that kind of stuff. We don't. We're focused really on Project B, and we are focused on following up on anything that we put in the director's cut. And sometimes we give you some bonuses and these types of things as we continually try to update any changes or anything else. So that being said, here's the way that we roll. Give me a 1 if you guys can hear my voice, and a 2 if you can't hear my voice. Go. Just kidding. And also you should have heard Sue Bell as well. Just want to make sure that we have our check 1, 2, testing 1, 2, testing 3, 4. Awesome. We have some really great questions coming in today, so we're really going to get excited about it. Okay, let's see. Another thing is that if you have questions, I'm going to try to address them. I see that some of you have already written them. Think about the process that I have to go through when you guys drop it in the questions box. I have to scroll back up. We have about
Gotta sip on some coffee.
yeah, just take a chill. We have about, I have about 20 questions and 20 comments per minute, just so you guys have a general idea of how hard it is for me to grab these things on the way by. So what I'll do is I'll scroll back, but do put your things in the box and keep your questions 1 or 2 sentences. It's really hard for me to read a gigantic 5 or 6 paragraph thing in the helps area. And in some ways, you might as well just forget that because those go to the bottom of the pile. The 1 or 2 sentences are easier for me to grab, just so you guys know how it works. It's just basic stuff because I can't understand the question fast enough to give it to Sue, then we can't answer it.
Yeah.
Hi, Gregory. Good to see you. Eric, Carolyn, Jim. Wow, look at all the people coming in here. We're rapidly moving up towards 100 people. That's very good. I'll probably have a couple hundred people in here tonight. Anything that's help desk questions, don't ask them here. We are not going to answer. We will take due note. If you are having an issue with the software or something's not working, I've already got 2 of those sitting right here where someone's asking about the software specific to their case. There's no way for me to know or do help desk support on these webinars. These are consulting and methods, techniques, insights, professional help on the specific aspects of SEO and the things that we taught in Director's Cut. If you've got a technical question, we will drop the Fanatical Support Desk ticket. Does everybody know that we have a Fanatical Support Desk? We do our very, very best to try to answer straight away. Do not ask me support questions in Help Desk in Facebook, guys. What I will do is I will drop the link back to our help desk support so that we can manage the on average 50, a lot of the times even on the help desk we have 50 technical questions coming in today that aren't related to our software. So again, just keep in mind that we have a lot of stuff going on and we are here to help you. We just got to make sure that the technical questions go through those channels, okay? So let me just get started, Sue. Are we ready to roll?
Yeah.
Shall we rock and roll? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll. I'm going to go ahead and put the support ticket right in the area for our support staff, Gregory and Paul, and you guys can go there. And if you have any major issues, feel free if there's something major going on to hit the Social Explosion support room as well. Okay. All right. What should we do, Sue?
All right. So, starting at the beginning. Is there a way I can boost the speed of my affiliate links? I'm not sure. Speed? Yeah, that would be the question. Like when you're like if you're talking about when you click on an affiliate link and it goes bim bump. It depends. Like if you're talking about the Network Empire affiliate links, we are speeding that up. The site's going to get sped up. here within the next day or two we should go live with a new site. But as far as everybody else's affiliate links, I can't help you with that. Sorry.
I'm not sure what. Don't think. Never mind. Okay, next question.
Okay, can I show links of Silo 2 in the sidebar of Silo 1? So if this is your structure, your silo structure, and this is Silo 1, and you're talking about showing these pages in the sidebar of these pages, yes, you can show the silo landing pages, the top level pages, everywhere on your website. If you're talking about showing these pages on the sidebar of this page, no, you can't do that. I mean, no, you can't do that. Like that just bleeds the whole thing. You might as well make all of that just one huge silo then. How much content should I use for my Web 2.0 accounts like Tumblr and Weebly? You know,
actually,
I think
I like Tumblr. That's a better name for it.
Right? I would say that the basic rules of content apply someplace between 350 and 500. Depends on how many links you've got going in that content. Oh, hang on just a second. What other Web 2.0 can I use for the Tumblr method? Oh, you're going to have to get creative. We don't actually, we don't know that Jimmy's given away any other platforms, but there are plenty of them out there. Where is the best user's manual for Social Explosion? I found the instruction manual and I could get fine and got it installed. Plenty of tokens. I uploaded a blog post but got no report about it. Where can I find help? You can find help in so let me just put the help desk here for starters. And so yeah, when you upload a new blog post, it can take a few minutes, like it can take maybe an hour before it shows up in the reporting section. We've been doing a lot of maintenance recently with our servers. We actually moved the entire platform to a faster set of servers. So when we're doing stuff like that, it can take maybe up to 6 hours before you actually see it post in your reporting section. But you should, like if it's been, that was back on the 12th and we're here on the 19th. So if you're not seeing anything in your reporting section by now, Patrick, then give us a help ticket. I purchased a site that has 5 posts already on it. Is there a method I could implement using them for Social Explosion? So what you can do is, we've got this nifty little tool called the OneFeed Supercharger. Let me just open my blog up over here. And the OneFeed Supercharger will allow you, actually, you know what you could do? If you've got 5 existing posts and it's only 5 posts, you can just take your feed off of that blog and put it into Social Explosion, and that will work just fine. So let me just give you a show and tell. Social Explosion over here under account settings, you've got a place where you can put in the RSS URL, and then you want to set these settings. These settings here are for the RSS feed. So you want to turn some of these things on, throw your RSS feed in there, and then hit save, and that will cause those things to post. Trying to rank, stuck on page 2 for more than 3 months now. What would be the first few things you guys would check? We
answered that last week.
Okay, good. Oh, maybe I didn't delete the ones from last week. No, these are all new, I think. I don't remember them anyway. I would check for over-optimization. If you're stuck on page 2, it's one of 2 things. Either you don't have enough domain authority or you're over-optimized. So probably the first thing I would check is over-optimization if you've been throwing links at it. And, if you look at the DA on your site versus the DA on the sites on page 1, and you're not in the same ballpark, then you just need more power. looking for some guidance. I have one client that signed me on for about 6 months of SEO work, headed through month 5 now, and I've managed to get many of their top keywords to page 2, then buried deep around page 5. After adding DAS and PBNs, I just can't seem to get them past 15 to 20. Okay, that's going to be some kind of a filter penalty. The competition seems beatable. So my gut hunch, did we answer all these last time? What is the date on these? It's 12th. Let me just make sure that they weren't answered. Hang on. 12th. No, probably not. Okay. So when you see a drop like that, where you went from page 2 to page 5, that's usually a penalty. And it's a good chance that you've got too many inbound links. You're over-optimized on your inbound links. So Jimmy did a, gosh, we don't have a place where we can capture an opt-in right at the moment, but Jimmy did a course or a webinar a few months back for where we recovered somebody's site. He went into Kemper's Tools and got the list of toxic links and put them into Webmaster Tools and showed you step by step what you need to do.
Yeah, and you guys can go back and watch the webinar replays from. It actually says right below it where we describe the webinar in your Director's Cut members area. That is a piece of snippet from our $2,000 Traffic Hospital course too. So that's pretty valuable. You want to go back and read under it where it says that we show you how to recover a site. That's going to relate. That webinar is really, really valuable. So you might want to go back and just check it out.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say is we also offer site recovery done for you. So if you're interested in having us help you out with that, give us a ping on Skype.
Yeah, and we'll eventually put that inside your members area.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's going to be in the Director's Cut area, but I think David said it was fine. But we'll figure out how to deal with that when the time comes.
We'll put a link up on omg.software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of you are going to want to learn how to do it because it is really quite an amazing business opportunity, extraordinarily so. And then some of you are going to just want to do it, and sell the service. So, just stay tuned for that. We're launching that. It's pretty amazing stuff. The site recovery results are probably one of the heavier duty artilleries that you're going to be able to utilize to increase your bottom line in your SEO business.
Why am I just not finding what I want here? Oh well. All right, on social explosion on blog.domain, even without social explosion installed, with blog posting and syndication, traffic flow, trust, etc., goes to the blog domain, resulting in overall domain authority, right? Yes. So without social explosion installed, then I don't know how you're getting your syndication, but if you are syndicating it, then yes, the inbound links for the blog posts will increase the domain authority of the entire domain. Can you give a best practice example of how you would get the visitor to the main domain? Horizontal linking from within the blog post, from the main nav. So look, every time I write a blog post, I write it with the idea that I know what it is I'm going to sell. So even if it's newsy and information-based, it's going to tie to one of my products. So at the bottom, we put a call to action. We just insert it right into the blog post. And we used to just do a text, but now we actually do a banner. And you want something that's going to grab their eye, something that's going to draw the click. And if you've given them good information, then that increases the chance that you're going to get a sale there. So you want to think about the pains in the marketplace and how you're couching your products and all of that kind of good stuff. Like there's a whole science that can go behind all of that. But the bottom line is, I would not make the link to get people to your money site and to your sales page obscure and hard to find. Like, you want that right out there. You want to tell them what to do, and then your chances of their jumping through that hoop are going to be a whole lot higher. What you can do on every single page that's a little bit more subtle is have an opt-in widget on the sidebar. All right, so Carolyn, so I have a two-part question. First, I have client's domain set up with a blog as a subdomain blog.domain.com, and I have the blog set up with an if this then that, and it's connected to 19 social sites. I blog about 4 times a week. I realized after 3 months that I had to worry about anchor text. So now I'm just doing branded. Okay. Oh, Bakeba. Depending on how you're doing the if this, then that. Oh, that just completely screwed up the formatting. Depending on how you're running it through if this, then that, like if you're putting it through via a feed, then you're not going to have to worry about the anchor text because the anchor text is going to be the title. But if you're actually putting the content through, then you got to worry about it. All right. So second, I set up 3 PBNs as WR2s and attached them to social networks through if this, then that. And these PBNs were hit and de-indexed in March. There were only a few posts on there. Do you have any idea why? Oh, my goodness. So many reasons why PBNs can get hit. No, I would have to look. I mean, anything else would just be an educated guess. If you want me to actually tell you why they got hit, I'd have to look. But some things that are really common are where they're hosted. If you're like at one of those SEO hosting companies where you get diversified IP addresses, like they look hard at those hosting companies. But usually there has to be another key than just that. Like there's usually several flags that line up in order to get them. Well, there's at least 2 flags that have to line up in order to get them penalized like that. So then the last part is also the main domain is fine. It hasn't been hit by any furry creatures. Should I still be blogging and feeding it through if this then that? I'm a little confused as to why those PBNs were hit, and I'm worried that if I continue, the main site will get hit. I don't think that your sites got hit because of the if this then that publishing. No. The one thing that I would do, if you're feeding your entire content through if this then that, then that's going to be a problem because you're publishing your content onto all of your content onto other platforms that have got a higher domain authority than yours, and that's going to reflect poorly on you, on your site.
Let's be a little bit more clear on that. Do you guys know what she means when she says all of content?
So like the entire blog post.
Give me 1 if you understand the difference between a summary and a excerpt on your RSS, and a 2 if you do not. I'm just kind of curious the professional level here.
Okay, so let me. So what I would do, I should just add a new post. Let me just edit this. What we got here. What I tend to do. This is why I use a feed, and this is why I also use one feed supercharger so that I can control the feed. So down here, you've got the ability to put in an excerpt, and when I put an excerpt in here. And like oftentimes I'll just grab the first paragraph or down to like an open loop, a really nice open loop, couple sentences, and throw that in the excerpt and then save it. And then when that publishes to your feed, come over here to settings and find the feed. Over here in your feed, if you have summary, then what happens is if you have something in those excerpts, then it shows up over here. See, so you don't get the entire blog post. You just get like a paragraph or a couple of sentences. So when you run that feed through if this then that, then you're not taking your entire blog post and duplicating it everywhere, which is going to result in spam. It's going to result in so much of your content being duplicated all over the web that it will eventually get a dupe content penalty. So
yeah, for those of you who've used if this then that, which I have quite a bit, obviously some of those services don't allow for full content and the rest. So what she's really cautioning is just also just in general, when you're using RSS feed services, which we cover in our live certification level 4, and all these other things, you don't want to publish your full content. And many of the services, if this then that, don't even provide that. But there are a couple of functions in there that will allow that. So just make really careful that you follow those instructions and not publish your full content.
Yep. Okay.
There's I think there's like something like 35 now or 65 different services or something. And if this and that, some of them are only, don't allow for SEOs, and I was looking at.
So, Patrick, are you on the call, Patrick? Because I want to know if you actually mean like an HTML website or if you mean a blog.
Yes.
Okay. So, because I just showed you where the setting was for the feed in your blog under reading. And if you want to create an actual RSS for like an HTML website or some other CMS, there are services out there that do that, and you just have to try 2 or 3 of them until you find one that works well. I don't have one off the top of my head that I use at the moment. I know they do exist.
Yeah, Patrick, I know. She knows the RSS for your site. Are you talking HTML or WordPress?
WordPress. All right, so that's an inherent part. Yeah, it's an inherent part of WordPress. And you can just come here to reading settings and set it up, how many feeds you want, or how many items you want in your feed, and whether you want summary or full text.
And that's what we just covered, you guys. The full text would be an attempt to try to publish your entire content to your feed. Summary would be a safe excerpt. Make sense? So always have it on summary.
And then if you go to your blog/feed, it'll be there.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, then you've got some kind of a plugin that's messing with it.
Right. Or WordPress blew up, which also would not surprise us.
It does happen sometimes.
Yeah. Usually works, and it's usually pretty robust.
Do I have to put my blog on visible for Social Explosion to work? Technically, no. And I'll leave it at that. Will you please explain in detail the difference between a regular site layout with keywords under each other and a silo structure? In detail, the difference between a regular site layout with keywords under each other and yeah, okay, I know what you're saying. So the difference is in the linking structure. A silo website is all about the linking structure. So as I said a few minutes ago, on a silo website, you've got the home page and you've got this top level, which we call the silo landing pages. You've got links to those pages on every single page of your site. But when you get down here into an actual silo, so like on this page, while you've got the links to all of these pages, the only other pages that you see are these right here. And when you're on this page here, you can see these pages, but you don't see any of these pages over here, right? And when you're here, you can either see just this or you can see this and this, depending on what method of silo structure you're looking at, but you're not going to see any of these pages over here and you're not going to see any of these pages over there. So what that does is it keeps the pages that are linking to each other highly thematically related. In this way, you can have this silo about chocolate, this silo about peanut butter, and this silo about cat food, and you'll rank for all of those keywords in all of those different silos because you have all of these cat food pages linking to each other, which firmly establishes to Google or any search engine that these pages are indeed about cat food. If you've got 10 pages about cat food linking to each other, then it's like, oh, hey, wow, this section of this site is really about cat food and nothing else. So if you had these pages also linking over to the chocolate or the peanut butter pages, then that becomes really confusing. Is this about cat food, or is it about chocolate, or is it about peanut butter? And so
yeah,
then
because cat food and chocolate don't go very well together.
Right? Cats just are not into chocolate.
Neither am I.
So that's the whole thing. It's just the linking structure. All right. I have a client who had a manual penalty removed via reconsideration request prior to hiring me. Okay? Should I be concerned that there's still some sort of flag on the domain despite the manual penalty being lifted? I have this thought that once you get on Google's shit list that way, you maybe can't. No, you can get off of it. So in order to have the manual penalty removed, that service or whoever it was that successfully got it removed had to fix whatever it was that Google thought was wrong. And once that's fixed, it's fixed. So whether it was inbound links that it didn't like, or whether it was, on-site content or whatever, it's been fixed, and so you won't have to worry about it. Now, okay, so the last part of this is he's recovered some of the ranking sense, but the project is new, so I'm not sure if I should be worried about long term. So here is the thing that I would say about that. If it got a penalty in the first place, then it probably means that the site was originally under the care of somebody who was using techniques that are no longer valid. So what could happen is if you start pushing links to this site, it could be over-optimized already in a way. It could either be over-optimized with inbound links. It might still have a degree of unhealthy links, like enough so that it passed and got out of the sandbox, but not enough so that it's like really in a healthy state and it's going to rank easily. And so once you start pushing more links to it, it could, you're right in thinking that it could possibly end up in a penalty again. It's not that it's somehow still on Google's shit list, it's just because the quality might not be all that. So, I would go through the site with a fine-tooth comb. I'd take a look at all the inbound links, and I'd take a look at the on-site optimization, and, do your due diligence before you start building more links to it.
You guys said shit.
I said shit?
Never mind. Next question.
Can you cover how to hide your backlinks pointing to your money site, please?
No.
Put them under the barrel.
Oh my.
That would be in the advanced class. Can you explain how to keep multiple data stacks separate for different clients and also personal ones without Google thinking all of them are the same account? Well,
don't use the same accounts.
Yeah, exactly. Create new accounts for your third-party platforms for each client.
Oh, yeah, and that's we've made that pretty clear in a few things that we've said. So use different accounts.
Can you boost the PA of Weebly with Twitter?
Yes, but it would be a real pain in the ass. But technically, you could.
Indeed.
Well, but there's so many easier ways. Like I wouldn't you'll build power over time to it like anything else. But it's follow the stack that we showed you in the training, and you're going to build more.
Yeah, exactly. Follow the DAS instructions.
But it's not a horrible question. Like it's great. I know that you're thinking through all the possible combinations, and that's a good sign that your brain is trying to find other ways to analyze the way that power flows, and that's good, Jim.
Yeah.
So keep thinking, and just remember that PA is a lot harder to build than power. Than trust. Sorry. So just keep, just remember that you're going to need a lot more to build that. And generally speaking, most Twitter pages don't have like that much. If the main, Jimmy showed a couple things where the pages had huge amounts of power, like the main role page. But there's a lot of other things you're going to want to do with that than just power up your Weebly page when that starts happening. Next question.
So Thomas is new to OMG / and he just bought a group of expired domains for PBNs, which we don't actually teach anymore. Bought Social Explosion plugin to send social signals. Understand each site needs its own Social Explosion account. Actually, it doesn't. What you want to do, where you say you want to use like a group by, that's the way you do it. You just use one. You can use one Social Explosion token across all of your sites, and you can buy a big package, and it'll just make sure you buy the package, the subscription with the same PayPal account as you bought the token, and it will all just work automatically. It'll distribute those tokens across all of those blogs.
I'd just like to clarify what Sue said about not teaching PBNs anymore. She's talking about Network Empire and.
No, I'm talking about OMG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Greg has a new video. Well, it's not new anymore. That
He's not doing expired domains anymore?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
And they haven't been since November.
Awesome.
So Larry just asked a question on the sidebar. Your silo structure that you showed earlier, there are 3 pages that have a lot of related pages underneath them. However, there are a couple of singular pages. What are they? Just single pages that aren't necessarily relevant? You know, this was an image that I borrowed from somebody else. And so I'm just going to say like that's a silo that's not completely fleshed out yet. It can also be like an About Us page or something like that that doesn't have a silo structure under it.
Yeah, Sue, I want to correct what we said about PBNs and OMG. So what's happening is that they teach PBNs with expired domains. They don't teach PBNs with expired domains as the money site, which was the original thing that they taught. Just to clarify what's happening now over there. Just so we don't confuse anybody here on the PBNs.
I was under the impression that they don't teach buying expired PBNs, expired domains, even for the PBNs, not just for the money site.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's not accurate.
We will find out.
Well, Fletch is on the call and he's just confirmed it, and he teaches over there. So.
All right, cool. Good.
Yeah, cool. Just want to make sure that we're not,
Thanks, anyway, Fletch. Cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. You have recommended Google authorship be set up. Can you comment on this in light of this post in G+?
You can scratch that pretty much. I need to go in and not correct, but adjust the functional purpose of the authorship has changed a little bit on the semantic, when they did the semantic update. So I have to reconfirm what that is. And in other words, who moved our cheese? So we should definitely look at the John Mueller post. But I can also say that we need to suspend or put a hold on that for a second until we can decide what they're going to do with authorship. Yeah, everybody on the call should know that Google Plus is in like major change right now. Like we don't even know if they're going to be around in a few months. So I haven't made an announcement to all of you guys about that since we did talk about the publisher back when it mattered. I'm not saying it doesn't matter now. Just want to make sure that Sue and Jimmy will come out with, and myself will come out with an official statement when Google Plus says where they're heading, and how we're going to handle that transformation. As you know, they've had a major internal split and other things. So there's going to be some major updates coming from us over the next few weeks, I'd say, probably.
So there's a question. How can you see the exact Twitter followers? So I just went to some account that I'd been to before, and I hit on followers, and you can see who it is they're following, or who it is that's followers. That should be who's following them. And as far as the shares, oh, you're talking about on your Twitter account. Oh, criminies.
Yeah, just log in your Twitter account and all that information is there for you. You have to be logged in, obviously, to see all that.
Yeah, you can see my followers, you're following.
Yeah. Just go up to the under the profile area.
Oh, I just hit twitter.com and it brings up the page that's got, I think, everything that you're looking for. Last week, Jimmy said something about over-optimization with exact match domains. I think he said that when you always talk about the same thing, that this could make an on-site penalty. What exactly does that mean? All right, good. So, let's say that you've got chocolate brownies. Chocolate brownies. Not that I wasn't just at Starbucks, okay? .com. And then let's say that you're going to talk about like when you've got a topic like that and you're talking about chocolate brownies, like how many things can you actually talk about, right? Like let's say you can talk about recipes, and then you've got like chocolate or white chocolate or chocolate with walnuts, right? So when you start to get the same thing in your URL string more than once, and then you get it on your page, you start to run into the opportunity for an over-optimization penalty. So
right.
it depends on how broad the topic actually is. So in other words, if you're doing, let's say HVAC, so HVAC repair is a pretty broad term, and so you can have HVAC and repair in here another time or so, and that's not, you start to get into a place where you want to be careful, but it's probably not going to run you an immediate penalty. But if I did HVAC repair mesa.com, so when you think about that, then if I do like HVAC Mesa, so how many times is the combination of HVAC and Mesa, being a city in Arizona, used versus the number of times HVAC repair is used? So HVAC repair is obviously used on a national level, where HVAC repair Mesa is used only within a local level. So when it's within a local level, the number of searches for that term is going to be much smaller. So this is going to run you into a penalty a whole lot quicker than something like this is going to run you into a penalty. So they look at that idea of the number of searches, the number of inbound links, the number of times a keyword's repeated on a page, and they go, wow, this term is too specific to be used this many times in the URL string and on the page and on the site in general, and therefore we're going to give you a penalty. Does that make sense? So they look at those things on three different levels. They look at the inbound links, they look at on a specific page to include the URL, and then they look at the site in general. Chocolate. David, man after my own heart. So in this particular example, you got Water Heater Dallas, a site called waterheaterdallas.org. And you started a blog. Yeah, Water Heater Dallas plus District 1. So what I would actually do is, in the article level, I would just do District 1, right? Because you've already got the Water Heater Dallas in the URL string. So if you've just got /District 1 and /District 2, then you've got the whole thing that you want in the URL string, but you haven't repeated it a whole bunch of times. Does that make sense, Carl?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, David. He focuses on core SEO concept. Core SEO concepts for good SEO. Well, you've got on-page factors and you've got off-page factors. On-page factors, you've got the amount of content on your page. You've got the number of pages about a particular theme. You've got the title. I wouldn't stress your concept in the meta too much. Have it once in the meta title or once in the H tag, and at least once on the page, your main keyword, and that should be good. If you've got it already in the URL string, then I would use a synonym. So, like those kinds of things, when you're talking SEO, mostly you're talking about keyword usage, right? And you've got images and other media that fall into play. And so what I try to do is, back here at the ranch, so like each one of these pages, I try to have someplace between 4 and 10 keywords that define what that page is about. And for the primary keyword, I try to have a couple of synonyms, a couple of different ways of expressing exactly that same idea. And one of the reasons that we use the software that we use is so that you can keep track of all those keywords for each page. So we've got like Network Empire Builder and Kraken that help you map out your keywords and keep track of what it is that you're doing. So when you build out a page like that, then you've got the ability to put multiple inbound links that are all money keywords, but they're not you're not overly optimized for any of those one keywords. So you can pick and choose the keywords that you want to use, and you've got a lot of diversity in your inbound link portfolio. So I don't know. Jimmy might have a bit broader topic, but I would say those are the basics. He would also talk about the quality of the inbound link, I would imagine, where it should, you've got trust and you've got power in an inbound link. And depending on how competitive the market is, you might need more power. You always need some trust. All right, so next question. Do you have random within...
Let's go back up to my question that you skipped.
Oh.
That's okay. My favorite brain hack, David, is when it comes to marketing and neuromarketing, is I have one favorite brain hack and I have one favorite and one scariest human blind spot ever. So I'll give you both. Favorite brain hack is something that it's actually called anchoring. Sue and I use it all the time in a lot of things that we do. It's not that different than the big idea. You'll see most of the mechanisms that we use involve anchoring, but it is by far the most powerful and terrifying human brain hack ever. An example of anchoring is when what's very interesting about it, doesn't matter, even academics at MIT and Harvard who believed that they were immune to anchoring were just as susceptible to it. So it's when you, for example, start out with a price that's very, very high, and that even if it's ridiculously high, people who are exposed to a high-priced item, or they're exposed to a big idea, or they're exposed to a very out there or lofty high goal, when they come back with a counter offer or they're given other numbers, they always default to the higher estimate. So, for instance, if you phrase your question, do you believe that the success rate of people taking this course is 80%, 90%, or 110%? When they come back, even when you give them different numbers, they'll always, if they've been exposed to the high number first, it's called mere exposure. When they've been exposed to the high number first, regardless of how many people have been tested, they will always default on a very, very high side. So this is called mere exposure and anchoring. It just means that it's a combination of suggestion and anchoring. The brain can't get it out of its head when it's been exposed to a high number. So the tip here is that whenever somebody negotiates with you and they go high, you actually have to walk away. You can't negotiate. If somebody negotiates with you very, very high, you need to walk away from the conversation because of mere exposure and anchoring, you can probably never create a deal that's fair on your side. Okay, so that's neuro hack number one. The biggest cognitive blind spot, that's probably the most terrifying, is something called regression to the mean. Regression to the mean is a cognitive blind spot in which you feel that something is negative or positive based on something that you're giving a causal effect to something. And you can look up regression to the mean. I recommend if you guys are interested in these types of things as far as brain hacks, you just go ahead and read a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. Explains all these types of things in there, and they're very, very useful and fun. Thanks, Sue.
Excellent. David's got another question. I wonder if the most natural distribution of social signals for a post is, I forgot the distribution, but it looks like a normal distribution squished to the left. For example, 3 social signals the first day, 6 the second, 10 the third, 27th the fourth, and then it drops down slowly to nothing over another 10 or so days, just as opposed to 3 a day for 7 days. Yes. So I have to say that with Social Explosion, we actually randomize not only the.
He's saying that both of the questions are part of the context of this one, I think. So the one right above it. Oh, you already got that. Okay.
Oh, I didn't read it, but I kind of intuited it.
Yeah, Dave was just saying in the chat area that those two go together.
Do you have a random within frequency? Yeah, so we do have a random. Being able to set the range for frequency and duration. So, rather than getting too complex, we looked at that. And rather than getting too complex and making people ask a whole bunch of questions like what's optimal and all of that kind of stuff, we just randomize it for you. And that way, too, no two posts are alike. I can't guarantee that they're going to hit that that distribution that you just cited, but it will be random. In regards to ranking videos on Google, what is going to have the greatest effect? Embedding the videos on our W2 PBNs or sending a link from that PBN to the video? Oh, Google loves embeds. Just because it actually puts the video out there where it can be played on more places. How does embedding the video?
Yep. Oh, I was just going to say, generally speaking, when you're using your own player, you're really going to have to use a technology that really understands how to give a bang for your buck and how to optimize the video. There's only a couple out there like Ezio Video Player and all these. Most of them are really crappy on-page video players if you customize them. So that's a major factor. Like if you're really adamant about having your own video on your page, probably want to use Wistia or Easy Video Player Suite, something like that. That does optimize and rank. But even so, the iframes, you're not getting the juice from the iframes. If you have a really powerful YouTube channel, it does. See, when I've noticed, it really does help a lot to have embeds. I mean, hands down.
That said, wouldn't you say that the just the YouTube video player embedded in your page is adequate?
Well, that's what I was saying. It would, but there's times when you just don't want that. Like if you have a lead funnel where you're doing various things, or for some reason, and of course, there's a lot of players that embed the YouTube right in it, right? And it's kind of hard to tell. I'm sure you guys are familiar with those. But most of those players that are placed over the YouTube embed, you guys have asked me about that before. Most of those don't hide the YouTube watermark, and you really aren't getting the juice from that YouTube video because they're not marking up the video on the page with micro formatting. But there are a couple customized players out there like Easy Video Suite that do have the markup, and they meet Kevin and Sue's standard for markup for video, and that's a lot. In other words, if you don't use your YouTube video and you don't want to for branding reasons, which I totally understand, so some people go to Vimeo, it's a little classier looking or whatever, then there are those third-party services that do have that. Just make sure that they mark up the video, so that's actually video markup on the page, because it really makes a huge difference. If for branding purposes, you don't want to use a YouTube video, and there are times for that.
Yeah. All right. So, how does embedding a video affect the video URL, DA, and links to the description of that video? Yeah, it depends on how you embed it. But everything is gonna, like, no matter what you do, it's gonna be a double plus good. And could you talk about general embedding of tweets and Facebook posts, etc., and how Google reads that?
Can we go back to that previous one?
Sure.
Okay. So embedding a video, one thing to keep in mind is that if you have a video that goes viral and people start embedding it, that is, if you have your embed turned on YouTube, what happens, because I have several videos out there that have gone viral that have 13 million views plus, what happens is if you look at the domain authority of that YouTube video per se, you've got a page authority of 60 sometimes, and of course, your domain authority is 100. And what's really interesting is I've started to look at this. You can see those videos, the more sites they've been embedded in, for example, I have one that's on like music.yahoo.com, it's a huge site. Then it's almost like a snowball effect where if your video is good enough and it's shared and it starts getting embedded, it has massive amounts of power, okay, and trust on that specific YouTube video. What's important to remember there is that in the description then, that's when you really want to take advantage of, getting that juice from that video because it's got a lot of power and a lot of trust. Does that make sense, Noah? I just want to make sure that is an excellent strategy to be aware of. That's the essence of domain authority stacking in some ways. It's just other people have helped you stack. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's one thing I just like people to remember, because I'm surprised sometimes how many people forget that if a YouTube is embedded by tons of sites, or it goes viral, or it's an authority site, it has massive amount of page authority as well as domain authority, and you need to use that. So then that's when you're going to want to properly optimize your description tag, like Sue and Jimmy talk about in our various courses. Really make sure that you're optimizing that description, because it really has, a lot of power, obviously. Thanks, Sue.
Sure. The next part of the question is, could you talk a bit about general embedding of tweets and Facebook posts, etc., and how Google reads that? Normally it's an iframe, which some people say is ignored by Google.
Yeah, we know the conundrum around iframes, and we're telling you that it's not true. Unless something is changing, it's not true. The five iframe punch model works and is tested, and I've got 3 iframes embedded within one platform, and they all get juiced.
Yeah.
So the proof is in the pudding, quite literally. And hopefully, does everybody know what I mean when I say that? That I've nested iframes, all that. That's really what we described in the 5 iframe punch in the course and everything. But that means, like, if I have a scoop it page and I've scooped a Storify page in it, and that Storify the Storify is embedded in the scoop it, but the Storify also has a YouTube and a tweet embedded in it. There's 3 layers of embedding. They all get crawled and they all pass juice. I don't care what anybody says. You can go out and test it for yourself. That's why it works so well. That's how we got the #1 trafficked SEO site on ScoopIt, is just simply by triple iframing. It's like 3 birds with 1 stone kind of thing. And so that's kind of a cool way to look at it.
So then there's a non-SEO question for Russell. I'm beginning to get a decent email subscriber list on a niche dating site. The list is growing with 10 to 20 subscribers a day, and I want to figure out how to monetize it. The site is set up like it's a personal blog with dating tips for guys. My question for you, any advice on how to build an email sequence that will lead up to an affiliate offer that converts well?
Well, sure. I mean, it all depends on what your offer actually is. It's interesting, marketers come up with their offers first, and then they think about becoming an authority later. It sounds to me like you thought about, I'm talking about an authority on the search engines or your blog. It sounds like you've designed your site and your authority site or your ranking site, and you really haven't been clear about your offer. I got to tell you, it's really interesting to live in both worlds, because I know lots of people who are major email marketers and some of the best funnel creators in the world, and then I also know the SEO world very, very well. It's kind of interesting to see how you come from both perspectives, and I'm not saying that one is right or wrong. One thing that you just, the advantage that you have is you could just sell those leads off to somebody who has an offer that matters. You could just partner with somebody that has an offer that matches, again, it's going to have to kind of match the modus operandi of your funnel. But if you've got a subscriber list, you may want to, connect with somebody who is, direct, that the offer matches the types of words and information that you're providing. That's probably what I would do. I'm more into selling leads. We have our course, Local Leads Empire, which really, the affiliate model still works for that quite well. It doesn't just have to be local leads. That might be one thing that you want to consider is, finding somebody who really has an amazing offer and just sell them leads directly. What that does is that bypasses the need for you to come up with a product or find a product and not get screwed by the payouts from the affiliate if you don't know them and all that hoopla. So if you do choose an offer, find it, and you want to promote it yourself, meaning you are going to organize it, just make sure that you get paid. Make sure it's an offer system and a company that pays out, and check with your friends to make sure that you're going to get paid by that company. So one thing I hate about affiliate marketing is just, unless you really know the payout company, I guess that's why so many people go to ClickBank and all those things, because they just pay. That's the main thing to think about. Does that answer enough of that question for you, I hope? Okay. I could go on all day about lead funnels, but don't get me started.
All right, so the next question. I've used the Silo plugin and built out a well-organized website. Now I'm changing the URL for some pages and titles. Should I modify the categories to match? For example, diet.com/diet menus /breakfast with berries. Yes, you want to change it so that the category matches the page. Otherwise, the silo structure breaks.
Yeah.
Categories are set to no index follow. That's fine. Should I change all the categories so they match? Yes. So the reason why you change it so that it matches is because that's how the Silo plugin works internally to keep everything straight. Where can I find the info that describes the Tumblr method? Mostly we did that on a webinar. I think it was on one of...
yeah, that wasn't even Director's Cut.
Yeah, it was, but it was, well, it might have been open to everybody, but it was on one of Cotton's webinars and not on one of our webinars initially. But a couple of weeks later, Jimmy came back and did it on our webinar.
Really?
Goodness gracious! Yeah, he did. He did a very short version of it, about a half an hour. And I'm
find that.
Trying to remember. I think that was in March. I think it was the month before certification. So either the end of February, the very end of February, or in March, or on Cotton's. I'm sure it's that Cotton's is republished in there too, and it's probably better marked because that was one of the main things that happened in that webinar.
I'll try to do is, David, I'll try to figure out, I see you on Facebook sometimes or wherever, actually on Skype rather. I'll try to figure out where that, we have that question come up a couple times a week, so I'll figure out where we stuck it. Just know it's not in Director's Cut directly, like in the members area.
It should be. Our replay of it would be.
Oh, you mean that secondary where that was the second time he just quickly went over it? Okay, well that might be in there, yeah. Okay.
And when it was discussed the first time, Jimmy was on the call, but he didn't actually do the presentation. And I can't, for the life of me, I cannot remember who the heck it was. My apologies.
Figure it out for everyone.
All right, so Razel, I remember you saying that a one-silo site isn't something you would do. Why? So here's the thing about a single silo site. I wish, you know what I can do? I can do it this way.
Hang on a second. It looks, David is saying that the Tumblr method's explained in the domination area.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you have a single silo site, it would look kind of like this, right? So you've got one page, and this one page links to all of those pages, and all those pages link to all of those pages. So basically, every page in the site links to every other page in the site. So a one-silo site isn't really siloed. You really need two silos to be able to have two different themes where these pages all link together and these pages all link together. So the whole idea behind the silo site is it's a linking structure, right? So you got to have two different concepts that are linking to each other and not, or linking in a siloed manner to each other and not across. If you have a couple of services that are city focused, couldn't it be done here? So yeah, you can have, so like let's say that you've got, this is one city and its services, and this is another city and its services, then all of these things will link together to reinforce the idea of that one city, and all of these pages link together to reinforce the idea of that one city, and then you're going to link better for those city services in each one. So I would have, that would actually make two silos.
I'll just drop the Tumblr member area link inside for everybody.
Oh, cool.
Let me, I'll put it in the spreadsheet. Or you're going to put that in the spreadsheet?
Okay. Yeah.
It's all good.
All right. So let me read this a little bit. Thinking of doing city.domain, subdomains, sites. You know, I think I explained the idea well enough that you can figure out where you're going to go from there, because I'm not quite sure what the last half of that you mean, Rizel. All right, I'm ready to set up my blog structure on my blog.domain. Which silo plugin would you recommend? And can you give a quick instruction or show a sample? Do categories have to be mirrored? So, you know, if I'm going to do a blog, like if I've got my website set up somewhere else and I'm just going to do a blog, I would use the Simple Silo plugin, which I think is the one that I've got here. And the reason, let me just show you what goes on here. The reason is you've got your silos pages, and then underneath that, you've got blog posts. And so the silo pages are going to mirror the silo pages on your website. So over on your website, you'd have boxed chocolates and detox diets and acoustic guitars. And then your posts, you can just go along and post as you would post. So as you have something to post about boxed chocolates that go into that category, you'd make that post, and then you would link over to the appropriate page on your money site that's got the product that most closely relates to whatever it is that you're blogging about. So, and this kind of goes back to an earlier question. So let's say that I'm blogging about Valentine's Day chocolates and what you might want to give to your Valentine on Valentine's Day. Well, then I can link over to an appropriate box of chocolates that you would give to your Valentine, right? You know, one of those heart-shaped boxes or some other similar type product. So in that way, you can blog a little bit more generically and still sell your product. So that's, to get back to your question, that's how I set up my blogs. That was one of the reasons that we came up with the Simple Silo plugin, because the Deep Silo plugin just requires too many static pages for most people. They don't want to put that level of content into their blog as well as putting it into their website.
Which is related to another question that just came up in the chat window.
Okay. Yeah.
In the silo, is it any better to have only a few silo pages rather than 6 or 7, or does it make any difference?
You need at least 5 to firmly establish the theme. So, you know, if you're in a real tiny niche and you can only think of 3 topics, all right, fine. But, you know, if you are in a more competitive anything, like here's the thing, if I'm having problems ranking and I add a page onto my site, that's worth a whole lot more than inbound links, typically speaking. Adding more content, if I've got, we'll say fewer than 10 pages in my silo, adding more on-site content typically weighs a whole lot heavier than adding inbound links. So if I've already got enough authority, enough trust to be able to rank, and I'm getting close on that power, I'll just add a couple more on-page items or on-site items. 7's fine. Yes, there is a difference. There's a symbiotic relationship to inbound links and on-page content or on-site content. So yes, there is a difference. But past a point, you also need trust and power from off-site to be able to rank. So in other words, I've thrown up literally 100-page sites pretty much overnight, and it does a great job of ranking quickly for a bunch of long tails, but they're flashes in a pan unless I substantiate that with off-site links. All right. What could/would be a sample site strategy for a $500 a month local client versus a $3,000 a month local client, both in the same niche, where say 30% of the revenue will be used for ranking purposes? What could or would be a sample site ranking strategy? You want to know the sad thing about the difference between a $500 a month client versus a $3,000 a month client? There's two things. One is the client, whether or not they can afford $3,000, and the other one is how well you position yourself.
Yes. Don't get us started. Sue, you jumped over to, we're going to be covering that a lot more, you guys, so just hang on to your hats. Octavio's question just went above Sue. I think you might have missed it.
I know nothing about GSA, and I believe one of my sites is being attacked. I see links being first crawled, seen only a few days ago. Does that mean that they actually created those links recently, or could this be an attack they did a few months ago, and just now the links are being created? So, it's possible that the links were created a while back and they're just now being crawled. That is possible. Typically, links, particularly if they're from less than useful sites, might only get crawled if they're actually pinged. Let me just take a look at your image first. I see. Yeah. I would, they're creating links to non-existing pages. Links to non-existing pages is, it's not harmful. Yeah, if it's not actually a page, I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, true. Gregory makes a good point. If you're using Link Juice Keeper,
yep,
then,
that's the issue.
Yeah, then it's going to be an issue. You don't want to use.
Are you, Octavio, using Link Juice Keeper? Okay.
No, good.
Yeah, you don't want anything that's doing any read, like any 404 page things. Actually, I don't even know. Is that
301?
Yeah, oh, the 301 is the problem. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. What could/would be blah, blah, blah. Jimmy, does it make sense to use DAS for ranking an Amazon page? If so, can you show us a modification to your director's cut cluster?
Rank is on. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you can just use a normal DAS stack. There's a couple of things that you got to have in mind. Like you want to grab the page, you want to grab the URL that Google is ranking for your Amazon page. So you can usually get to any one Amazon page using several different URL strings. So you want to make sure that you've got the one that Google has already got in their system and starting to rank. Some of those URL strings are also just internal to Amazon. So yeah, you can do that, and you can send a DAS stack to it. When a client moves offices, what's the best way to update their citations? Just log into each one and change them. That's the only thing you can do. Sorry, I wish there was an easier way. There are services out there that you can, some of them are fairly inexpensive that'll do that for you. And like that's just the kind of stuff, Paula, that I would rather jump off of a tall building than do. So I tend to outsource that. So there was another Google update after the mobile one that affected a bunch of sites. So we're actually doing a webinar on Friday about this Google update. There is, Jimmy's done quite a bit of research, and so far he can't find anything that isn't actually mobile related, but there are several aspects to the mobile update that you need to be aware of. And he's up to speed on that. I am not, so I'll let him talk about it a little bit next week. But we will have a Network Empire Webby on Friday that's going to go into depth about it. About halfway done. What's that?
If you guys are talking about the big search engine watch stuff that released today and yesterday about the new Google content parameters, you'll be hearing more about that.
This is actually CNBC's version of it, but it's all variations on a theme. There's a lot of buzz going around about there being some other kind of a hidden update that was tacked on behind it, and I know Jimmy thought that as well at first, but all of the sites that he has dug into, he's not found any evidence of it being anything other than mobile. If you think you have a site that has been hit by something other than mobile, you might want to toss it to him. About half down the page, the orange guide graphic with instead, so Pinvid sites hit. Pinvid sites, we didn't have any Pinvid sites hit.
No.
vCracken is fine. The plugin itself is good.
Yeah, we have discussed. Oh, okay. No, I thought she had some sites hit. We covered that pretty well, and usually that was happening when you were doing it in combination with PBNs, and they were older domains.
Yeah. All right. So
if you're using the Pinvid theme that we provide, that's been mobilized friendly by Kevin's theme. But if you're using the model, we can't guarantee the theme is updated. If you're using your own, so there are people using VideoKraken with themes that are not dynamic.
Exactly. Is it possible for Google to extract the MAC address from the IP messages and not just the IP? Yes, the MAC address is embedded in each packet as well. Let's say my main keyword is buy car. Should I get all the supporting keywords, silo-based or buy car or car? P.S. I don't want to rank for car, but for buy car. Let's say my main keyword is buy car. Should I get all the supporting keywords, silo-based on buy car or car? So you want different ways of expressing buy car, such as like purchase auto, right? You want what we call pure diverse keywords, and you want as many of them as you can possibly get. So if you have, the more synonyms you can use, the better. And if you can have synonyms for every term in your keyword, like that's ideal. And then you want supporting keywords as well. And if I were going to have a supporting keyword for buy car, it wouldn't contain the word buy and it wouldn't contain the word car. Like I would just, obviously some of the keywords are going to have one or the other, but I would just have as many different ways of, like that's why we went with the concept of LSI, right? Because you can get all kinds of ways of expressing your concept that are semantically diverse. And the more diversity you have, the more natural it sounds. In other words, when you sit down to write an article about something and you're actually a subject matter expert, you talk about that topic from a whole bunch of different perspectives. You don't use the same money keyword over and over again. However, if you're an outsourcer and you've been told to write an article about this particular keyword, you don't get really creative. You use 2 or 3 words and you use them over and over again. So that's one of the things that we've taught from the very get-go is semantic diversity, and that's like it's twofold. It's a win-win because not only do you avoid penalties, but you also rank for all of those other ways of expressing the same concept, which means you capture a lot more traffic that way.
Yeah, one way of thinking about it is whoever says the same thing in the most number of ways gets more rankings or wins.
Exactly. So on a Network Empire webinar about a month or 2 ago, it was mentioned that Google is no longer indexing Facebook business pages. I found one in the top 10 today. Did they reverse their decision, or was that statement their public statement, but in reality it was BS? I believe it was actually Facebook that wasn't ranking the business pages in their internal search engine. But I have to say, within the Facebook search engine within the last week, I found one of theirs too. So so I have no idea if maybe they reversed it. If they reversed it, they did it very quietly. I didn't hear about it. Although I have had my head down. Does vSilo still work to build sites? Yes. I have a syndication network set up, and the RSS feeds from the money sites blogs are being fed through if this then that to about 25 social properties. At first, Carol, didn't we do this one already? First I was using money keywords in the blog posts, but then I realized about a month ago that it was yeah, we did this one already. Can you give the exact software of Network Empire that we should be using that OMG recommends and a brief summary of what software does? You know, so we have the site that I put together to kind of help you out with all of our diversity. And if you click on these, like it kind of gives you, like depending on what it is that you're doing, it gives you the software that you might want to look at for that particular aspect. And then when you click down into it, I'll work on fleshing these out a little bit more. There's always at least a link to the information about it, but many of these pages have also got a brief description about what the plugin or the application actually does as well. So that should help you out. And we will work on that, fleshing that out at another level too.
I would add that.
You would add what?
Oh, was I unmuted when I said that? Oh, okay. Let me think. I sort of changed my mind at mid-sentence.
Any of these softwares on the horizon of possibly not being as effective or strategies needing to be changed based on no. So no, actually we build all of our stuff so that it's evergreen. We actually have jumped through some pretty good sized hoops to create a framework that that the stuff that might not be evergreen, you can just pop those things out like Lego blocks and pop in a new, like platforms. Platforms are the things that change the most, right?
Right.
So
some of the things that. Mm-hmm. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I lost my train of thought. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So did I. No, just kidding. So there's things like social explosion is evergreen. The silo function. What's interesting is that there's almost nothing. When Sue and I create a software, or when anyone on our team invents an application, we go through a very, very rigorous process of featuring, and we have to meet certain parameters of Sue's background. That includes Sue's background, how to analyze, where what we dive deep is the way they talk about it at Amazon. And the Amazon technology teams, we use very similar things. So diving deep means that we have to go into the deeper infrastructure of the web and look at what's likely, and also the politics of Google. So there's several factors. If any of you guys have read the in-depth or even listened to the public podcast, and video for Google Skyfall and the rest, you'll see that our team actually reads the patents and goes deeply into the technology of those patents. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have a black swan. I mean, even we, have seen black swans come along, but the more flexible you are, the more, like for us, it's very, very, it's more, it's a softer impact. So a case in point is, Sue and I talking to Mike Long about website style architecture in 2006, actually, on the West Coast, so before it was even popularized. So that should give you an idea. Generally speaking, just as an example, we're probably about 4 to 5, maybe more, but I know that it's a minimum of 4.5 to 5 years ahead on average with this stuff. So speaking to these specific softwares, part of the reason that Sue has engaged in the semantic web, for instance, our semanticwebtraining.com courses, and Kevin speaks a lot about that, is because that balances the black swans and the planet killers of even Google's index going bye-bye in the event that it ever did through what Sue calls semantic browsers, just so you guys know how far out we are. It's possible that in the future, again, we don't know for sure, that browsers in their entirety, meaning the Google search engine results page. So the better question to be asking would probably not be about whether our software is going to obsolete, because it all fits as long as Google has a search engine result page. But Sue is actually already hedging against even the demise of the search engine results page in terms of the way that we program and we develop. So that's something interesting for you guys to be thinking about in terms of what it means to the future, what it means as a software company to be thinking a decade ahead. And also, one thing that I have learned from Sue is always be prepared for black swans. Always be prepared for things that, could Google actually face some competition? Well, don't get her started on that. She's got lots of ideas about that. And it's really interesting stuff, because when we design our apps, we really do look at that. So hopefully that helps, Don.
So the one thing that we have that is probably going obsolete, or possibly going obsolete, is the G+ RSS maker.
That is an example. And Sue did not invent that. I did. So
yeah, we went down that path because other things exist, like Hootsuite, that give you the opportunity to take your RSS feed or to create RSS feeds and use them and abuse them. But because Google was a difficult platform, at the time, nobody could make and keep an application up that consistently that would create an RSS feed. So we did it, right? It's because we needed it internally. So so that's one thing.
I also pushed a little bit hard. Like you already had big ideas about it, but you let me sally down that path because I launched the Google Plus RSS course.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. Like we've talked about, like she's already got plans to make. I mean, it's a little bit like it's nice to have a Google Plus RSS maker, but what we really need is something way more robust that allows, like one-feed supercharger and other things like that incorporate RSS. And whenever you're dependent, like this is a good case in point, Google Plus probably going bye-bye over the course of the next year, or at least in the way that we know it now, moving more to images and the rest. That's a perfect example of, how building an app that's one single platform dependent is not optimal. So, it's an interesting topic of development and featuring. So it's kind of an exciting time to be, around watching all this stuff for you guys as we roll out these cooler and cooler things that incorporate everything.
Indeed. So Paula says, either last week or the week before, Jimmy mentioned that just hooking up all the social accounts to site can bring about a DA15. And when you say social accounts, are you talking about the main 5, 10, 25, 100, how many? And that's about someplace between 20 and 30 platforms that we standardize on. How many are we talking about here? Something like this, doing it correctly. Yeah, between 20 and 30. There's a few real key ones. Through creating citations, I've ended up with a TF of about 15 and a CF of 29. Should I be concerned with this ratio? Is there anything that can be done to improve the TF? Yeah, absolutely. You can improve that TF. You can improve the TF by putting some links to some of the lower DA sites from higher DA sites. So in other words, just reinforce some of those weaker links. For the schema markup, what goes into the field in your Google Map URL? Item prop has map href equals your Google Map URL. Get directions. Just a repeat of the map URL in the iframe of the map. For the schema markup, I don't suppose Kevin's on this call, is he?
No.
No, it's a bit late for him.
Or early.
Right? I don't actually know. Let me ask him in the morning, his time, and when we post the questions, we'll have that answer there. I'm currently working on some travel blogs with a different WordPress blog per country. SEO-wise, would it be better to put in city hotel and hotel name pages on the subdomain of the main travel blog with a link from the travel blog to hotels.travelblog or under travelblogs.com/hotels? All right, currently working on some travel blogs, a different WordPress blog per country. So SEO-wise, is it better to put city, hotel, and hotel name pages on a subdomain of the main travel blog with a link from the travel blog to the hotels.travelblog.com or under so put the pages on a subdomain and link that over to hotels or put it under hotels. You know, I can't tell you how often I get the question asked that way. And the question really needs to be asked the other way around, right? It's carts and horses. And when you say, you know, should I put the keyword here or should I put it here? My question back to you has to be, what's the most important and what's the most competitive keyword? So let me just go down this path.
You'd be asking yourself, am I trying to sell this or this?
So you've got 2.1.com/3/4/5. All right, that's the weight on for a keyword in a URL structure. So in other words, the keyword with the highest weight is going to be the part that you actually buy, right? The keyword with the second weight is in the subdomain. The third weight, and really all of these are pretty much equal, but you're going to get a little bit more weight here than here just because you're going to have more pages, right? So let's just look at how this shakes out for a second. If I've got a silo structure, then I'm going to have 3, and then I'm going to have 3/4, and whoops, come on. 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, right? And then I might even have a /5 and a /5.1, right? So if I've got a really deep silo structure, it goes like that. If I don't have so deep of a silo structure, then it goes like that. So just take a look at this for a second. When you look at the entire site, every single page on every single part of the domain is going to have one .com in it, right? So clearly that's going to be the most heavily weighted thing. I'm here in a particular subdomain, and every single URL in the subdomain, whether it's got, no matter which silo we're looking at, is going to have the subdomain keyword in it, right? And then you've got the silos. Every single page in that silo has got that keyword in it. So when you look at simply the number of times, when you look at the site as a whole, the number of times that a particular keyword is repeated, that should help you to remember why this weighting is like that, help that weighting to make sense. So you want to rank for keywords, and you got options when it comes to how to set it up. You can either set stuff up as subdomains, or you can set stuff up in silos. And does it make more sense to set it up as a subdomain, or does it make more sense to set it up as a silo? So, oops, I lost my little thingy dingy. Hang on a second. So let's look for a second. Probably can't see this very well. Font, give me a 22. So let's look for a second and say, when you're thinking hotels, when you're thinking I'm going someplace, let's say that I'm going to travel to New York and I'm looking for New York hotels. I don't really, there's a lot of times when I'm looking for something in a locale that I don't actually want to know that you also service 200 other locales. That's going to make it seem more like a directory and less personal. And I'm really only interested in New York anyway, so I don't care the fact that you've got Los Angeles and Las Vegas and Miami and Fort Lauderdale and all those other thousands of places. So in that case, I might do city.hotel.com, right? And so then that's going to be New York, and then you can go into the different burbs, maybe, if you want to be ultra local. Or you can go into the kinds of hotels, family hotels or whatever, like cheap hotels, whatever you want, right? So it depends. You have to think of it, first of all, first and foremost, you want to think of it from the perspective of the visitor. When you're selling this site, what mode is the visitor in when they land on your site? What are they expecting? What do they want to see? What's going to set them up in the best mindset to want to actually purchase from you? Okay, that customer has always got to be first. The second thing that you want to think about is what makes sense from a ranking perspective. What's the most competitive thing that is also really important to me? So in other words, hotel is going to be more competitive than New York. But if New York hotel is the thing that I really want to rank for, then setting it up like New York hotel is going to make a whole lot of sense. Now, let's say that I'm not particularly locale based, but the keyword that is actually the most important thing to me is discount hotel. Then I'm going to want discount hotel because that's more competitive than a locale. So I'm going to want discounthotel.com/New York. Right? So think about it from what's the most important and what is the most competitive. And where those two ideas cross, that's the keyword that should be in your subdomain. Now, if you don't need to go to the subdomain level, if going to the subdomain level leaves you with only a handful of pages on that particular subdomain, then I would consider taking it down a notch and just leaving this like, this can be whatever. It can be www, or it can be places, or whatever you want it to be. You can have a keyword in there, or it doesn't have to be keyword specific. It can be a synonym for keyword, and then you can have /New York and /Vegas and so on and so forth. So it really, like, you got to back up. You got to figure out what it is that you're trying to do. You got to figure out what it is that you want your client to do, or your customer, your visitor to do, and come at it from those perspectives rather than just launching headlong into it from a technical perspective. Because when you're only thinking about your structure from a technical perspective, that's where you're always going to find these questions that don't seem to really have a good answer. Soapbox off. All right, drink of water time. Would you recommend using Social Explosion for our local SEO service sites? Absolutely. Do you recommend Yoast SEO for sitemap? Man, I avoid Yoast SEO whenever possible, but if you don't have a site, I don't actually use them for the sitemap, just to be honest. I use something else. I do a query for sitemap plugin, and I take whatever the number one thing is. If that's the only thing I'm looking for. If I'm looking for something else that Yoast does, then I'll begrudgingly use Yoast.
Just a heads up on that. I think it's okay to mention this. We will eventually be rolling out a release that has a basic sitemap in it. I believe you already said I could talk about that. I think
that was a video sitemap. We have video sitemap in the new.
Oh, it's not a basic sitemap. Okay,
it's
never mind.
Nah.
Yeah. Currently, in the PinVid course, in the Network Empire side of things, we still use the Yoast general default SEO. There's only 2 functions of that plugin that we currently use, and then everything else we try to not activate or in other words, we don't engage it, and that is the canonicals area and just the general sitemap. We're also not recommending any video sitemaps from Yoast or anything like that, just to be clear for you guys. And there are other sitemaps on the market, but part of the reason I'm cautious is there's a surprisingly number of bad sitemap softwares out there. So I've got 3 that are dysfunctional in a variety of contexts and conflict with other things. So I wish there was something that I could say that we guarantee every time. Right now, I still believe that the sitemap function in Yoast is the best of the worst. The problem is that can change at any moment as it continues to add more and more things that are not interesting. I kind of wish that was a separate function. So those are just my 2 cents.
Yeah, we have a couple people who ask why I don't like Yoast, and it's because it's bloatware. It's because he's tried to put the entire kitchen sink into a single plugin, and it slows your blog down.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right, guys? Yeah, if you have a certain amount of things that you're trying to add, in other words, if you're building a Swiss Army knife in WordPress, and I mean a big Swiss Army knife like W3 Total Cache or something like that. Those are just really monster things, and I don't know, I know that most of you guys aren't programmers, and I'm certainly not. There's a lot of stuff going on there. You can just think of all those wheels having to turn. That engine. It's like the more things you add, the bigger the semi-truck, and the bigger the loads that it's carrying. That just tends to slow your blog down.
Yeah.
That's what Steve was just saying, really.
All right, so I have a client website that I've been sending DAS and PBNs to. The inner pages refuse to rank or even show up in SERPbook, but the home page does and is always stuck on page 2 for any keyword I target. Does this happen if the site is not properly siloed to the point where Google can't figure out what page strength for which keywords? It might be a siloing issue. I think that if the inner pages aren't ranking for anything, then it's probably an over-optimization issue.
Riz, can I just make a suggestion? Go back into SERPbook and make sure that you don't have a / on the end of your URLs that you're trying to rank. Just doubly check that, sometimes, again, that can be a SERPbook issue as well. Just double check. Look for 1 or 2 manually as well, and just make sure that you're not getting bad results from SERPbook. Let's, go right to the ground zero there. Just double check.
True. Don't assume.
Because, I've just noticed that SERPbook sometimes doesn't do it, and then it's like a / or there's something not quite right in what I've entered in. Right. User exists between keyboard and problem exists between pebcap.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks for everything. Appreciate it. Question 1, do you have a certain size for your picture to be able to have your post pin in Pinterest via Social Explosion? I'm asking the question because I've been using Social Explosion for more than 4 months now on a consistent basis, but I never had a post published in Pinterest. I do typically use one feed to get all my posts in Social Explosion and make sure the option for Pinterest is on. So check the feed that comes out of one feed and make sure that you've got images in there, first of all. Sometimes, depending on how you generate the feed, when it goes into one feed, it might not have the image. So obviously then when it comes out of one feed, it's not going to have the image. If it has an image, there's no minimum size as far as I know for Pinterest. It will take the first image in your blog. So that means it'll look first to see if it can find do you have a size on a minimum in Pinterest?
No, it's just, I'm pretty sure, at least unless you guys updated it, Sue, the last issue was that there has to be an image in the posts. So for instance, if people are using Video Kraken and they're following the method that we teach at automaticvideobroadcasting.com, then there's no images to pull for Pinterest in that model.
The new Video Kraken will give you images.
Well, yeah, and then it talks nicely with Social Explosion now, right?
Yeah, but if you're using an old version of Video Kraken, then it won't. That's why I said check the feed and see if it's in your feed.
And it wouldn't be by default, is what I'm really saying.
It wouldn't be with the old version of vCraken, that's true.
No, and not without an additional plugin of some kind.
There's no indication here, though, that this is a vCraken.
No, not at all. But I'm also saying that as far as I knew, the regular Social Explosion feed has to have an image in the post.
Of course. Since he's pulling it in through the feed, through one feed, then the image has to be in one feed.
Okay.
So one feed is going to pull first the what do you call it? I had the word a second ago. What do you call it when you have a special image in a post?
Featured image.
Yeah, featured image. So it's first going to pull a featured image if it can find the featured image, and if it can't find a featured image, then it just pulls the first image out of the post. Question 2, and if you're not getting it and you think you ought to be getting it, then please put in a help desk ticket. Question 2, when you do DAS to PBN, the way that you and Greg did it, I just keep asking myself, how can linking to a no index page not leave a footprint? Well, you can no index any page. Why would, okay, so think about it from the perspective of what actually happens on the internet. I come along and I find a page, right? A no index page means I didn't find that page through Google, but I could have easily found it because it was linked to on Twitter, right? So I followed a Twitter link, I landed on a page, I like the content on the page, and so I'm going to link to that content from my blog. Hey, I just found this new article about blah, 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 and I link to it. So I don't bother at that point to go and check to see if it's a no index page. I just like the content, so I link to it. So that doesn't leave a footprint. Number 3. Okay, good. If I do DAS to my PBN the way you teach us to do DAS to a money site, will that still be more or as powerful as the way you and Greg did it? It would depend. It would depend on your PBN, and it would depend on what you're linking to in your DAS stack to your PBN. So in other words, you typically buy a PBN because it's got a certain amount of domain authority. And so that means it's got a certain amount of trust from whatever links it's got. So if it's already a pretty highly trusted PBN and you start linking to it from lesser properties in your DAS stack, that's not helpful. If it's not such a high DA PBN and you link to it from some pretty strong sites, then that is helpful. Question number 4. In the DAS stack, I completed 3 stacks at the phase you marked with the white arrows in day 4. I moved up from position 9 to position 3 on the first page. Should I still wait for a month before I start the blue arrows on the next phase, or can I go at it? I would wait. I would wait because there's the distinct possibility that you'll move up further. And because every link you add can water down your trust, I would wait. What type of tool do you guys use to check trust flow? It's that one Humpty Dummy thingy dingy that's got the little circly thingies in it. I can see it, and I don't remember the name of it. Shoot. Majestic. That's what it is. Thanks, Gregory. Question 6. A lot of time when checking a PBN in Majestic, you'll come across a site with a lot of trust, but when you check it with other tools or in the Wayback Machine, you see that it's been a Chinese type of site or even an old affiliate site. Can you still use PBN like that to link to a nofollow? Web 2.0 to pass the trust to your site. Yeah, if it's going to go through a nofollow, sure, you can do it. So long as it's going through a nofollow, that'll hide a multitude of sins. All right, so Terry asks, I did a Tumblr with around 900 reblogs. I was wondering if it would be a good idea to run all the reblogs through indexification to get them crawled. So I was thinking this would give a bigger boost to my entire stack. I would use Social Explosion, but Social Explosion for 900 reblogs is starting to get a little expensive. Yeah, I would run it through something like indexification.
What?
I'm trying to rank an EMD right now that's siloed because it's an EMD, and my contextual links in my articles within my silo when linking to other pages. Should I be using exact match anchor text? No, I would not use exact match anchor text. Like that is exactly the right question, Terry. That's where you start to get into problems with over optimization. I would be using synonyms for your money keyword. Example, I'm linking back to the home page of the EMD within a silo. Should I use the exact match or is that dangerous? If a different anchor, what would be the best? Yeah, an LSI, pure diverse, exactly. Pure diverse if you can. And number 3, I have a subdomain cranking with vCracken on one of my sites, and through a main menu link on these vCracken posts, I am linking with the exact match anchor text to a page on my main domain. Okay, so this is on a subdomain, and through a main menu link, a menu link on these vCracken posts, you're linking with an exact match anchor to a page on my main domain that I'm trying to rank. Basically, it's because it's basically creating hundreds of posts, all with a link in the main menu, going to the main menu from the subdomain with exact match anchor. Am I going to optimization for that, or is it fine? Great question. It's all on the same domain. And you're linking from within a menu, which usually gets discounted. You know, that's probably not going to be a problem. It's probably not going to be a problem. And if you have problems getting up off of page 2, then I would go back and change that menu. But I think it's not going to be a problem. Great. I have a page where I put my posts on how to social explosion know where my posts are being posted. Ah, happy birthday indeed, Jimmy. I have a page where I put my posts. So the way that Social Explosion knows that you're posting is all internal. So it has, when you install Social Explosion, it's got an internal trigger, and when you hit the publish button on your post, that sends the trigger so that the content is actually uploaded to the SaaS. So that's how it knows. It's you don't have to worry about anything. All right, we made it to the bottom of the list.
Fantastic. So, as you guys know, the replay is always published within 48 hours of the event. And it looks like we covered quite a few of your, I think we left one person behind that I wanted to get to. Heidi was asking about where does it show to move in Simple Silo. She's talking about Simple Silo, how to move pages around. On that one.
I can show you that.
Yeah, probably want to show her just how to move pages around. It's going to be in the same locations. I don't think you can. Yeah, you can. Can you move posts? Yeah, you can.
Yes. Yeah. You can move everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Heidi's still on the call.
That's okay. She'll watch the replay. Okay. So if I, actually pages are all going to be at the silo level, right? So let me just come here for a second and back into the report. So pages are all here in bold, right? So you don't really need to move pages around because they're all already at the top level.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way that I can think of how you would, oh my goodness, there's just a few posts under that one. The only way that I can think of that you might want to actually move the pages around would be in the menu structure itself, right? Which is like either here or here. And that's actually a WordPress menu. So if I come here to Appearances, Menus, and we should have the SEO Silo menu. So I can just drag and drop these bad boys around, and that's how you would move pages. And then you hit the Save button when you're done, obviously. So then the next thing, the only other thing that you can really move on these are going to be the posts. So if I come here to All Posts, yeah, leave the page. I didn't mean any of those changes, honest. If we come here to a post and we edit this post, throw back to Spain, you can see that this is actually under Valentine gifts, and I can change this, and I can move it to like boxed chocolates, and then I can hit the update. And let me just try that for a second. This is under Valentine gifts right now. If I put it under boxed chocolates, I just want to make sure that it's going to, yeah, it changes the category automatically. So the only thing you have to change is the silo structure. And Bob will be your uncle.
Yay!
Everybody needs an Uncle Bob.
Okay, good. All right, good. So that's a couple hours. We're pretty good.
Tequila?
All right, you guys. So next week we will have Jimmy back on the call. 90% sure of that. And looks like Sue did an amazing job of covering all of the things without any help whatsoever from the crazy backlinking department.
I see that Mike Clay is still on the call. Do we want to bring him on for 5 minutes and give folks a preview?
Sure, that sounds good.
Mike, are you up for that? Have you had a shot of tequila yet?
Don't know if he is still on the call.
Older, wiser. Yeah, he just said boo. He just said something about tequila. All right, let me find him.
No, he's not a drinking man. Okay, let's bring him on. Let me see here.
You want to give him an intro?
Sure. Mike Clay. There's so many Mikes in our organization at this point. Mike Clay, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said Mike Hayden for a second. Get all the mics on. Heck, invite Mike on and we'll have a party. Okay, you guys, so Mike Clay, how to best describe? Okay, so Mike is somebody that is definitely a rock star. He spoke at our live certification event here in Scottsdale, Arizona, which, as you guys know, is an incredibly expensive event and well worth it. We pride ourselves in the fact that We provide much more of value in that event. People work all year long, sometimes up to 2 years to get to it, and sometimes they decide to just buy the whole package up front. This is the high end, where sometimes we've been called the university of online business and marketing and SEO. So the interesting thing is that on Friday, Mike spoke about, I discovered him quite by accident. We just were talking in some other context, and he just happened to mention that he utilizes our reports from Network Empire, like DWS and any silo builder and other things, that he sells the reports up front for clients, which is from his digital agency. So that's the main thing. As I kind of cracked open his business model, and Sue and I started looking at the things that he was doing, we realized that he's making anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a sale by just selling reports up front. That's output from the Network Empire suite of tools, which is very, very powerful. Now, we have had many other people and digital agencies in our organization do that in the past, and it was kind of interesting because they protected their reports in ways that they weren't always forthcoming. But Mike, again, forthcoming with us has its benefits and rewards, and we continued talking more and more, and he kind of opened his kimono, so to speak, about how his digital agency is operating. And as I got wind of how he was, what he was doing, my mind was completely blown, which takes quite a bit to do. So that's the long and short of it. He ended up speaking at our live event on Friday and showing everybody at the live certification event how he's using that. So it's kind of, imagine making $3,000 or $4,000 up front on the front end before you even engage in SEO services or marketing or social media or even reputation management, like some of you guys I know also do. So that's a little bit about Mike Clay, and there's going to be a lot more to come over the next few months. I also spoke to David Mills about these types of things so that he's aware of some of the things that happen in our organization as well. Sue and David try to talk a lot. So you'll be hearing more about this over the next few months, and that's really an introduction to Mike Clay. Oh, by the way, important to understand that he used to be a professional balloon twisting tying expert at parties. Yes, the kind where you can make pretty much anything that you can possibly imagine by twisting those little balloons. Like you see at a carnival.
He made me a whip.
Oh yeah, he's actually extraordinarily. Let me give you a little bit of another insight. So at the certification event on the patio, he was making various objects with balloons, and there was a party happening behind us, which I think was a wedding, a bachelorette party.
It's a bachelorette party.
Yeah, and so he went over there and started making these weird, funky balloon things, and I crap you not, he closed a lead with one of the bachelorettes while he was doing a balloon and gave her a web service in the card because she started talking to him about SEO right in the middle of it. I swear to God, I'm not making that up. He actually closed the bachelorette while he was tying balloons for SEO with a business card in front of my eyes. This is the kind of guy he is. Mike, welcome.
Well, thank you. And the official title is I'm a latex vessel pressure configuration specialist.
Yes, thank you. And it's that kind of specsmanship that makes you such a good salesman. Yes, and actually I would put you quite a bit. Yeah, marketing actually replaces selling, really, and you've got both down very, very well. And so, yeah. Sue, what did you have in mind when you because you can't tie any balloons for us, so what did you want to talk about?
No, well, I wanted to, last week we had a couple questions on at the end of the call.
Oh, yes.
About, what were some ways that, geez, I forgot the exact nature of the question, but I remember saying that's a perfect topic for Mike to discuss. And so it's basically ways to get your foot in the door, ways to make that first sale to a client, ways to set yourself apart from the competition. If you come across people who have been, how can I put this politely, been swindled by SEO companies in the past, it's a way he's got a way that he positions himself that removes him from that previous.
Right. So what do you do when, like, a significant amount of the industry, or at least a decent-sized part of the industry, where they're still remembering their failures and having been possibly not given the best service or worse by SEO agencies.
You stop selling SEO.
That's Sue's favorite way of positioning it.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're selling SEO, what you're doing is you're talking the same jargon, the same geek speak that everybody else is talking. So now you've just put yourself in the same boat as the guys from India selling it for $99 a month. So
right.
You're having to constantly build value, and I've done that. I've done that in the past. And you end up having to resell the client every couple of months, even though you're getting them results,
right.
because you use the same jargon as the guys that conned them 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you change the vocabulary. Quit selling SEO. Start selling digital marketing.
Absolutely. And that's a really, really easy way to transform improvement into opportunity. And I think, as the SEO industry is commoditized, and again, please understand, and Sue pointed this out to me at dinner, in no way are we saying that you guys should stop doing SEO, and it's also completely fine if you front end. It's possible to become an amazing SEO agency that creates distinction on the front end with your brand and sells SEO in the front, and uses the word SEO and uses the jargon. It's possible. That's in fact, many of you are doing that. We just wanted to give you an alternative perspective and show how that works. And you'll be hearing more and more about, positioning that a little bit differently. And it is interesting because when you start to see the numbers on the back end, when you see the offer and how that offer converts, and it really will change your perspective on how that all works. And we'll be talking a lot more about it. I think we already have like a squeeze out, sellreportsfirst.com. I think we have a squeeze out, something like that. But you guys are welcome to learn more. But you will be hearing about it regardless. You'll be hearing about it more and more by default. We just want to give you guys more ideas to increase your earning reports and incorporate all the things that you've learned. If you are an agency, this is ideal. Obviously, if you're doing your own stuff, you may not be interested in this type of thing at all. In other words, if you're just working on your own business, and this is probably not going to be up your alley so much if you're just working on your own content broadcasting. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about it, and feel really good about exposing the entire community to these alternative, cash flows, these kind of bolt-on opportunities that can exist right inside your business. When I looked at Mike's stuff, I realized that it was a major bolt-on opportunity for anybody who wanted to.
We're going to have fun.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mike. And hopefully we'll even get some balloons. I'm thinking maybe we could also occasionally get a few of your bizarre sculptures that you created. I think the most interesting balloon thing that you did was the Harley Davidson, the life-size Harley Davidson one. It was my favorite,
it was
man.
fun. Matter of fact, a bunch of my friends are getting ready to. They're talking about doing another world record. So they're starting to plan a life-size castle with a 35-foot dragon and things like that.
It is awesome. It's interesting to see the kind of characters that, really are good at just optimizing. Don't let Mike Clay fool you. Like, he's really, like, I just couldn't, when you started showing me, Mike, what you're doing, I could, because you're such a fun character, like you got these balloons and everything, and then I see what you're making up front on these things, and you haven't even done any hard work yet. I mean, at least not, you're not doing SEO services up front, still making cash flow. Just a real eye-opener.
My idea was, here was the problem I had. The problem was selling upfront SEO. We were running into the problem of they were trying to compare our price tag to the other discount SEO firms.
Right.
So we started selling the data up front as a blueprint and used the data to upsell the SEO, to where the SEO was the afterthought. Sell them the plan and the strategy first.
Yeah, that's interesting. Really, really cool stuff. Because the plan is more like an opportunity, and opportunities are like the brain really receives that in a different kind of way than it does, especially if it's been, sold improvements that never happened by the large part of the market. So you actually kind of did it, whether you knew it or not consciously. I'm just coming from neuromarketing. You actually completely hacked the brain, gave them what they wanted, made money up front, and still provided them with awesome SEO anyways. It's just the coolest thing ever. Really, really cool stuff.
And I'm learning more about neuromarketing from hanging out with you. So
oh yeah,
it
was really great. Mike and I hung out for a week, and he hung out here in my office. We just really had a blast. So anyway, that's the sneak peek. So that's like we're just starting to get the buzz ramped up a little bit. Is that good, Sue? Did we do good?
I think that's good. So we'll be back in a week or two, and we'll have a couple of samples. We're going to actually roll out a whole new section of our members area. We've already had a couple of sections, but we're going to dedicate a particular section to agencies who are interested in pursuing this kind of.
Yeah, can I get just you guys who are still on the call? There's quite a bit of, most of you are still here. Can you let me know, give me a 1 if you're an agency or a one-man shop or one-man gang. And, if
you're selling SEO or online marketing services, basically.
Yeah, if you're an agency of any kind, actually, even if you're reputation management, anything. If you have any kind of, well, not any kind of agency, but I mean any of the, like Sue said, any of the online marketing, give me a 1. And maybe a 2 if you're not, and you're just using what you've learned in Director's Cut, everything else with OMG. Okay. All right, good. So most people here are agencies. All right. So good. We'll open up more dialogues and think about how you want to present that to you guys. We've opened the dialogues up with David recently, so we'll have more conversations with him. All right, you guys, that's excellent. You're all wonderful, and it's been. Thank you so much, Mike Clay. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing.
And I realize that we haven't had time to talk too much since we got back from the event, but we'll catch up soon. And Sue, thank you so much for your exhaustive coverage of the questions. And oh, by the way, everybody, we forgot to mention, if you have any questions that were not covered, go ahead and submit them, or you haven't submitted a question yet, please go to omg.software. That's omg.software. That is the extension that Sue got for exclusive to you guys here. It includes everything that we offer you. You click the bottom of the link to ask us questions for webinars. This is where we get them. No question too hard or too, well, there is such thing as a bad question, but it's pretty hard to do one. And we'll let you know if you've really done a bad question. So you guys are awesome. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is going to be in the afternoon. The event will be in the afternoon. I think it's 11 o'clock time, is it, Sue, or is it 1 o'clock?
I think it's 1 o'clock our time.
Yeah, so 1 o'clock Phoenix time, and we'll see you guys there. And thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on the inside. Good night, everybody.